A few months ago, I was talking myself into getting a drum sander. I spent quite a bit of time online checking the different ones that were available. I saw this one at the Canadian Woodworker, and the price was sure good for this particular model, but I couldn't find out too much online about it. Nobody seemed to post anything, except for the people that were trying to sell it. Well, after unsuccessfully trying to talk myself out of buying this, I bought it. Canadian Woodworker had it delivered, and the first thing I noticed is, boy, is it heavy. Take a good look at this ramp. You're going to see it again suspended over top of my basement stairwell. Now, I guess in a machine like this, heavy is a good thing. But when you have to get it down into the basement of your house, into your workshop, heavy is not a good thing. I securely bolted a winch to the floor, right through into the floor joist, and while my son turned the crank, I guided the sander through the door. Canadian Woodworker graciously gave me extra time to build all the apparatus needed to get this thing down into my basement before they had it delivered. One of the things I built was a hoist. Now the idea of the hoist is to lift whatever I've got that's heavy up so that I could put a dolly underneath it and then move it around once I got it in the house. Okay, it's in the house, it's sitting on its dolly, but before I go to all the work of taking it down into the basement, I want to make sure it works. So I ran a very heavy extension cord up from my workshop and plugged it in and tried it out. Worked fine. My wife allowed me to keep this thing in the living room overnight, and the next day I took as much of it apart as I could, like the conveyor. That made it quite a bit lighter. I'm guessing that it probably took off about 100 pounds of stuff, and that made it a little easier to get it down into the basement. It's kind of hard to see here, but that ramp that you saw outside earlier is now suspended over the basement stairwell. The one end is on the top step of the stairs, and the other end is being held up by a hoist, which you'll see here. Okay, I'm working by myself now. I don't have any helper at the top of the stairs to release the tension on the winch as I'm lowering this end of the ramp. And I had to keep going up and down the stairs, or wriggling up and down the stairs past the ramp. And I probably had to do this, I'm guessing, 30 times. From the time I started taking this thing apart in the living room until I finally got it down on the basement floor, it was over 5 hours. So okay, I know you want to see this thing run, so welcome to my workshop. My workshop is a little on the cramped side, so when I want to use something I have to pull it out, use it, and then push it back. You'll notice that a lot of the heavy stuff there is on wheels. The shaper's on wheels. In the background you'll see the table saws on wheels. This is all heavy stuff, and having it on dollies sure makes it a lot nicer. I have a really good dust collection system here in my workshop. I've got a dust collector also made by General. It is rated at over 2,000 cubic feet per minute. It's a 3 horsepower unit, and it just works great with this machine. Okay, I'll take a little piece of scrap 2x3 here and run it through a few times, and you kind of get an idea of how it works. You can't see it in the video, but I am definitely wearing ear protection. When I was making this segmented bowl, I sure appreciated the fact that this sander had the ability to sand the rings perfectly flat, right from one side to the other. When I was doing the glue up, I noticed that the rings, when stacked one on top of the other, there was no gaps whatsoever. And this is because the sander had done such an even, smooth job. The other day there was a professional wood turner over, and he was giving me pointers on how to hold the turning tools, and he saw the bowl, and he remarked at how well those joints fit together, and well, that was because of the sander. A good friend of my wife was over and saw a little table sitting in the house that our kids used to play at when they were little, and she really liked it, and I said, well, I'll make you one. This is the tabletop. It's made from 1x6 cheap spruce fence board type lumber, and it's joined together, and what you're going to want to notice is, and it doesn't show up too good, but that is perfectly flat after it had passed through the sander. I put it through maybe 4 or 5 times, took down just a little bit each time, but it just came out mirror smooth and perfectly flat. It's just almost like plate glass. That sander does a really good job on something like this. I think this is where it really excels. I think now is a good time to mention that this is not a thickness planer. It is a sander. It does a really good job at sanding, but if you want to take something down, use a thickness planer. So okay, what do I like about this sander? Well, I like the fact that it is very well made. The rollers and everything that needs adjusting is easy to adjust. You can micro adjust the ends of the rollers, get it just right to within probably a thousandth of an inch if you had to. And it's designed in such a way that I should be able to fix anything myself, except for the electronic speed control. What do I not like about it? Well, I was disappointed in the instruction manual. I got the impression the instruction manual was a translation from some other language into English, and it was done by a computer, and I had the feeling that some things that should have been in there weren't in there. Maybe General should look into that. Otherwise, it's a great machine. Would I buy it again? Yes, I would. I'd get the same make and model, and I'd get it from Canadian Woodworker again as well.